In this second part, second hour, I would like to start by reading a beautiful letter from Mother Teresa, written to her own society, the religious order she founded, in the 25th of March, 1993. This letter is available online, one of the rarest letters available online, and it is written while she's praying in a chapel. My dearest children, sisters, brothers, and fathers. This letter can be read by any person. No? We don't have to be part of the Society of the Missionaries of Charity. It's a Christian letter, I would say. Okay? It can be heard by any person or any Christian on earth. This letter, being very personal, I wanted to write in my own hand. So it's written by hand, not with a typewriter. There are so many, because there are so many things to say. Even if not in Mother's hand, still it comes from Mother's heart. So that's the introduction. Just leave it. Now, what does she say to her sisters and, of course, to all of us? Jesus wants me to tell you again, especially in this Holy Week, how much love He has for each one of you. How much love He has for each one of you, beyond all you can imagine. I worry some of you still have not really met Jesus, one-to-one, you and Jesus alone. We may spend time in chapel, but have you seen with the eyes of your soul how He looks at you with love? Do you really know the living Jesus, not from books, but from being with Him in your heart? From being with Him in your heart? Have you heard the loving words He speaks to you? As for the grace, He is longing to give it. It's a grace, but He is longing to give it. Until you can hear Jesus in the silence of your own heart, you will not be able to hear Him saying, I thirst, in the hearts of the poor. Never give up this daily intimate contact with Jesus as the real living person, not just the idea. How can we last even one day without hearing Jesus say, I love you? Impossible. Our soul needs that as much as the body needs to breathe the air. If not, prayer is dead. Meditation, only thinking. Jesus wants you each one of us, to hear Him speaking in the silence of your heart. Be careful of all that can block that personal contact with the living Jesus. Etc., etc., etc. It's a long letter, it's a beautiful letter, and this is the starting lines of the letter. Now, let us enter in a new dimension of these two commandments, and we will come back now to the expression, all your heart. We are invited to love the Lord with all our heart. I need all your attention, please, here, because this point is very important, and at the same time very delicate to address. So here is our heart. And the fact is, instinctively, when we feel a little bit cold, when we hear the first commandment, as I said earlier on, we sort of instinctively split our heart in two parts. We split our heart in two parts. The upper part is meant for God, for Jesus, and the lower part, the warmer part, is meant for another human being. But the thing is that God is asking for all of our heart. Why? Because our heart is created at His image, at the image of His heart, and the likeness. So wide, so deep, so immense, the capacity we have to love, the capacity, the thirst we have to love and be loved. But the sad thing is that we don't know, we are not always taught that it's all our heart that should be given to God, and especially the lower part of our heart, which is a little bit puzzling. This part usually is left for humans, is left for a future husband, a future wife. So let me tell you a story, and this is a true story that happened to me a few years ago. I was teaching this aspect of falling in love with Jesus. This aspect of falling is double L? Oh, everything is two today. Yeah? Falling in love with Jesus. And by falling in love, I mean falling in love. Okay? I don't mean just, oh, this thing is open, sorry. I think there's another one open there, but it's okay. Falling in love with Jesus. The saints and the female saints talk about Jesus, describe their relationship with Jesus as a falling in love, as loving as us, non-saints, we would love a man or a woman. I mean, if I love a woman, my wife, or you love a man, etc. Okay? It is shocking. The first time ever I read Teresa of Avila, that was back in 83. She was talking to Jesus and treating Jesus as a Spanish woman would treat her husband in the 16th century. I was utterly shocked. But since she is a saint, and she's a doctor of the church, I thought probably there is something mysterious there, something I need to discover, So this relationship, this intimate relationship with Jesus appears and shines in the person of all the saints, I would say, but especially the female saints, and of course some of them, they dare to speak about it, others, they just shut up and do it. So the ones who spoke about it, it's overwhelmingly strong and powerful, but as well, deep, warm. You feel that this part of their heart is taken as well by Jesus. The part that we usually would give to another human being is taken as well by Jesus. It's strange, because Is it possible? Is it possible to love Jesus as we would love humanly, with a bit of romance, a bit of dating, and a bit of this and a bit of that? And don't get me wrong, we don't go below the belt. Just to be clear. So we're talking all above the belt. So, is it possible to fall in love with Jesus like I would fall in love with a man if I'm a woman, or fall in love with a woman if I'm a man? Or whatever? You see what I'm trying to say? Is that possible? Is that possible? The saints seem to say yes. The saints seem to say yes. So one day, that's the story now, one day I was coming back home after having taught these things, or it came up in a discussion. So two ladies, both married with children, were taking me back where I was at that time. It's not this country, it's another country. And we were talking about this exact point. So we had the two ladies reacted very differently. One of them, they are still alive, by the way, they're younger than me. One of them said, "Oh, I'm very surprised to hear a man talking about these things." I said, "But this is a tradition in the church, maybe not very much known, but still, if you dig a little bit, you find it immediately. You don't really need a lot of time to find it. Plus, it is mentioned in the Bible. In the Bible, you have the sacred book of the Song of Songs, written by Solomon, according to tradition, who speaks about this love between the groom and the bride, and the church understood this text as talking about Jesus and each one of us. So it's there in the Bible. The church tradition says, here you are. You want Jesus as a beloved? Here he is. Not only that, but you have great saints, even male saints, like St. John of the Cross. It's just an example. You can take others, St. Bernard, St. Bonaventura, St. Francis. St. John of the Cross, when he talks, he explains and develops the journey of growth of the love between the soul and the groom being Jesus, the soul being each one of us. And he describes it. When you read it, it's like you feel it's a woman who is talking, not a man. Today you will say he's in touch with his feminine side, no? But it's not that. It's falling in love with Jesus. Falling in love with Jesus. You see? So she was like, we were talking, we were understanding each other, we were flying. Poor the other one, poor her, she was there sitting, and she said, guys, I don't understand what you're talking about. And listen carefully, because this will help you understand what this means. All the story helps you understand what this part means. Because some people say, oh, what do you mean by the upper part of our heart and the lower part of our heart? So the upper part, this is when you pray, you love God. No, you're supposed to love God. Yes, I understand. And this one is when you love a human being. But how then can we use this for God as well? So the both should be in red, not in green. That's the thing. So it's not like, I can't grasp it. So just follow the story. So the other one says what? The other lady says, guys, Jesus is everything for me. Jesus is my God. Jesus is my Lord. He's my Savior. He's my best friend. He's my confidant. But this business of being my beloved or my husband or my groom, it's like, I don't understand anything. Of course, I understand that she can't understand, and I know that this is a grace, but it's given. So I said to her, look, don't worry. I want, because the discussion went on for a while, and I needed to go as well, so I said, look, just conclusion of all that, don't worry. I want you just to do one thing, if you don't mind. She said, what? I said, before sleeping today, say to Jesus, all that story that I heard, I don't understand anything, but I'm happy to leave my door ajar. So I won't close the door of my heart. I'll leave it a little bit open for that. And then sleep. And then I went. 3 days after, she phones me. Help! What's happening? Help! So, what's happening? She says, I did the prayer you asked me to do. I said, prayer I asked you to do? I teach how to pray, but I never give a prayer ready-made to repeat, no? She said, no, the prayer you the other day when we were in the car, the prayer you asked me to do, which is like, before sleeping, to say to Jesus, I'm leaving. So when I heard that, I was in heaven, because I knew he would answer, no? So I was like, above the moon? How do you? Above the moon? Huh? Over the moon, yeah, not above. Well, above and over? Over, above, over. Anyway, so I was there, and she said, no. I said, what? What happened? She says, it worked. I was like, not the moon, but all the planet, all the galaxy, no? So I said, well, fantastic. She said, no. I said, why? No, sorry, before saying that, she said, it worked. I said, oh, fantastic. And good, very good. She said, he's courting me. He is courting me. Do you understand what it means? Courting is the initial dealings between a man and a woman, a gentleman and a lady, or a young girl, whatever, and they want to sort of like maybe, so you are in the beginning of it, so it's courting. He's trying to allure her, to seduce her, to attract her, and we don't do that much today, but anyway, it's the expression. I see, he's courting me. I didn't ask how and why, because, God is free to do whatever he wants, no? But it was normal and natural for me. She said, well, this is fantastic. She says, no. I said, why? She said, what about my husband? Do you understand what happened here to her? She said, what about my husband? What does it mean? It means that this part in the courting story and the courting process that Jesus started was touched by Jesus' love. Not only the upper part. The upper part doesn't have too much romance, doesn't have too much emotions, doesn't have the human fleshy part. Don't get me wrong with fleshy, but you understand what I mean, like the earthly part of loving. Doesn't have it. But in her case, it started. And she was shocked. Remember, she's calling, help, help. So what's wrong? He's courting me, which means he's talking to this part of my heart. So, surprise, this is new. It's the answer to her prayer. And problem, she's married. What am I supposed to do with my husband? Of course, Jesus is Jesus, so of course, Jesus comes first, no? Jesus is God. You understand the story? Of course, I told her after, Jesus is not God, of course, and there is no contradiction. Your husband is not God. Jesus is God, so therefore, it's not the same thing. But I like very much that story. Then it's a real story, and I'm grateful to God for allowing me to be witness of His grace in this person. But it helps me to explain a little bit more my point. When Saint Teresa of the Child Jesus, this one there, writes on the lintel of the door of her cell in the monastery at Lisieux, Jesus, my only love, when you read the text and you find her every 2 or 3 minutes in the arms of Jesus, and she's a girl of 20 more years old, she's not a little child, you start to, and when you read her poems to Jesus, etc., you start to wonder, what is happening here? And when you read others, St. Clara of Assisi, St. Agnes of Prague, St. Gemma Galgani, the list is long. Dina Bélanger more recently, and others. It's this type of love. But here, as you see, she's a married woman, and there is no contradiction, I said to her. There's no contradiction. Jesus is God. Your husband is not God. So, normally, you shouldn't reach a point of, like, one excluding the other, you see. She's still alive, by the way, she's a happy person, I think, etc. Okay? So this is my point. Now, question. How can we, to be more practical, how can we then reach that? Of course, you have that famous prayer that I instinctively invited her to do, no? I understood that it was like what we were talking about is like E.T., it's extraterrestrial, doesn't seem to belong to our normal Christian life. I understood that. This is why I didn't force, I didn't try to convince. No, I just said, if you want, just say this prayer. If you want. She wanted it, she did it, then it's open. So we need to understand that it is a grace. Why it is not mentioned in the normal teaching of the church? Well, aren't we in the church here? Aren't we teaching the normal teaching of the church? You have it. There is a moment in your life when you hear it. That's it. I never heard it before. I heard it in '83, so I was shocked. Now, let us go a little bit now in more concrete elements. To fall in love with Jesus is a little bit easier for females than males. I'm talking, of course, of heterosexual orientation. So, for a woman, it's way more easier to fall in love with Jesus because Jesus is a man. Of course, I'm not talking about anything below the belt, just to make it clear, but still, Jesus is a man. I personally, I'm deeply heterosexual. I'm not attracted by men, I'm attracted by women. So obviously, dealing with Jesus, a man with a beard and a moustache, etc., I'm not really very inclined to, even though he is God. So you understand that Jesus is my God, Jesus is everything, Jesus is my Savior, Jesus is my Master, the wisdom of God, everything. But if you talk to me as a man and say, Jean, Jesus is your beloved, say, okay, just help me. Help me because I'm a bit far from this. But if I say this to a girl or a lady, it's certainly easier. Certainly easier. You may not notice it, but this is how it is. I taught that exact teaching in a seminary in the Middle East, and they said to me, we will wait for you outside. So it was like, you seem to forget that we are men. Now, how this works? Just to be concrete, because otherwise we are stuck, us as men, and priests are even as well stuck, and monks are stuck. How does it work? In order to fall in love with Jesus, we have to use, men and women have both a feminine part, a feminine side, or a feminine part, and a masculine part. This is today extremely known, extremely obvious, maybe not 50 years ago or 100 years ago, etc. Of course, a man remains a man and a woman remains a woman, but we have both aspects in us. And normally, in order to fall in love, it's rather the feminine part that is first invited. But in order to see, even in a Christian way, this aspect, I will ask you two questions. So it becomes easier for us to understand. Who is, in the Gospel, the embodiment of the feminine. And by feminine I mean listening to the Word of God, receptivity, being docile to God, obedient, silence, readiness, and an excellent quality in women is this total radical gift of oneself. A woman gives, when she finds something, she can give all her being for that cause. A man is a different thing. He's interested in building things and achieving certain things, etc. We are slightly different. But for a woman, you have this immense quality of whenever you find the person, you can give everything and its full power, and it is stronger than a man. Now, let us come back to my question. Who in the New Testament, I'm making it easier because I can say the Bible, but who in the New Testament embodies the feminine to perfection? Our Lady. Okay, this comes very easy, thank God. The next question will be more difficult. Where, this is still the first question, where do you find in the New Testament the moment where this feminine aspect in Mary, in Our Lady, shines to the maximum? Receptivity, listening, being docile, creating a space for God, giving oneself totally. I mean, you have all the elements here. In the Annunciation. So now, if you are puzzled by the feminine part or femininity, just contemplate Mary and understand. Is there a problem for men to say, God, give me a heart like Mary's heart, like Our Lady's heart in the Annunciation? I have no problem with that. No problem with that. And as you see, I can, as a man, not only a woman, but I can, as a man as well, develop this feminine side that is embodied perfectly in Mary, in me. I can allow Mary to grow in me. You see? I can allow Mary to grow in me. So we both, men and women, are invited to allow that these immense vital qualities that Our Lady has, that appear especially, that shine especially in the moment of the Annunciation. You can read and meditate the Annunciation, it's endless. So we are all invited to do that. It's possible. And we are all then, therefore, developing Mary in us. We can fall in love with Jesus with that heart. So I have a heart of a woman, and this woman is Mary. There's no shame for me to say that. I'm a man, I'm perfectly man, don't worry. You see what I mean? But I have, despite the fact that I am a man, I am inclined to women as a tendency, sexual tendency. I don't have any problem into saying, God, develop Mary's heart in me, and then, therefore, after, when I go in this direction, this heart allows me to fall in love with Jesus. You see what I'm trying to say? With Mary's heart. Of course, I don't lose my masculinity, but I am developing a very important and vital element in me. Now, the second question. Who embodies perfectly the masculine side in the New Testament? And again, I'm choosing the New Testament just to make it short, otherwise it could go longer. So, who? Joseph? No, Jesus being the groom. So, Jesus is apart because he's God. I want in Jesus followers. So let us leave Jesus because Jesus is God. He's the only one who is God in the story. Amongst other humans, who embodies the qualities of masculinity? Determination, strength in virtue, perseverance, faithfulness, if you want. to call this masculine qualities, no? Masculinity. Who then? Joseph? Yes. Give me more. The strongest. I need the most powerful. The most powerful masculine aspect appearing in resilience in suffering. John Baptist. Peter. Oh, come on, Peter. I said, I don't know him. He said to a woman, I don't know this guy. Who persevered till the end, offered full total resilience till the end. No, simple. St. John, if you want. Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise. The most masculine person in the New Testament is Mary. No, it's Mary. Look at her capacity to remain faithful to Jesus, to fight and to remain strong because of the love of God. Of course, you may mention John, you may mention Mary Magdalene, that's absolutely fine. But I think the maximum appears and is embodied again in another woman, in a woman, and it's the same woman, Mary. She offers the example of total and utter faithfulness to the Lord. Remember that Mary remains faithful even beyond Jesus' death, while all others doubted. She didn't. Well, for other reasons, but this is a manifestation of this virile, do you have virile? Virile love for Jesus, faithfulness. Who is the strongest person in the New Testament? It's Mary. It's not a man, it's a woman. Man, apart from John, it was a disaster, yes or not? Exclude John, let us give him a little bit of peace and rest. Take the other 10, 11. It's a full utter disaster, no? The boss says, I don't know him. The others disappeared. One of them is the one who betrayed him. It's an utter disaster, you see? So, okay? So, do you see here how masculinity, proper masculinity, blossoms from proper femininity and not the opposite, and not together? One gives birth to the other one. A good, full feminine development in us will bear its fruits of a good, faithful masculinity in us. So the feminine comes first, despite the fact that in the process of creation, Eve is taken out from Adam's side. We have here Adam coming out from Eve. Or the masculine development comes from the feminine development. So, we both, men and women, find our treasure in that this way that is open to us. The best embodiment of the disciple is Jesus, is Mary, sorry. The disciple of Jesus is Mary. The best embodiment is Mary, where the feminine shines and the masculine aspect shines as well. Okay? Got a point? Now, is there any question on this point? I have developed a little bit more that teaching in other places, but I want this part to be I wouldn't say understood fully, because in case it's new, I understand that it's new, therefore it's new. So we still need some time to digest it, or better, to pray on it, okay? To pray on it. But do you have any question about this? Because I want this aspect to be clear, Is it new to you? I guess for some of you, of course, it is new.
If the feminine can't come first for men, what would you say it does?
Of course it does. Because in the case of Peter, the question is, the feminine cannot come first in the case of men. In Peter. Some of you mentioned Peter. He tried to bring forth the masculine. But it's a false masculine. It's not the masculine that is born from the feminine. It's a masculine that comes out of his own strength, from the old man in him. And this masculine utterly failed. He betrayed, he said, he negated that Jesus is his master, that he is a follower of Jesus. Repeatedly negated. No? It starts with Matthew chapter 16, when Jesus says, from now on I will suffer, I will die, and I will rise. The reaction of Peter is, no, never. Who is talking here? It's the masculine. It's the old man masculine. And this masculine cannot bring the feminine. He needs to convert, he needs to change, he needs to go to Mary first, to learn from her the proper development of femininity, then he will be faithful after. You see what I'm trying to say? So yes, we are tempted to develop in us, men and women, by the way. There are women who play the false masculine. It exists. Maybe you haven't seen, but I have seen many of them. Where there is an imitation of men, which is the stupidest thing that can exist for a woman. To imitate men, what's wrong with your mind? You go down or you go up? So you have women who wants to sort of emulate or imitate men because of many reasons. Life is tough and we have to do this, we have to do that, etc. Yes, fair enough, I understand that life is tough, but where is the real solution? No? So you lose a lot and you don't achieve a great deal in the end. Why? Because Peter is allowing the old man in him, the wrong masculine, the old masculine, to develop in him, while we're not allowing he is not, and we are not sometimes allowing the true feminine to develop. And don't fear, the true masculine will come, but not the false masculine. I think that's the challenge in life, to distinguish between the true masculine and false masculine, true feminine and false feminine as well. It's for both of us, for men and women. I'm not talking only for women, I'm talking for men and women. And your question was about a man. Okay? So yes, it has to. And this is his moment of conversion during the Passion, to discover the utter failure of the false masculine. Okay? Now, any other question? Yes, please.
It makes sense that women are much more attracted to spirituality. You go to a church, you obviously, or even in schools, most people here are women. But it does also make me want to ask you, what is this based on? I mean, what's your saying?
What is this based on? Well, let me first repeat what you said, because people who will later be following the video won't hear your question. You hear the first part. You said that it seems that women are more naturally drawn toward spiritual life. This first statement, yes, it's absolutely obvious. Maybe not for you, or maybe it is, but maybe not for others. Women are, of course, are instinctively more drawn to spirituality for many reasons. First, because this is me talking here, not the Bible. This is just Jean with my own culture replying to you. Because women are closer to life. I mean, life, human beings, persons. They are more down to earth. And paradoxically, the more you are down to earth, you are closer to God, and not the opposite. Because you see the value of life, you follow life in the right speed. You are not rushing like a man would rush, or see things from an abstract point of view. Naturally, women are less damaged maybe than men by life. They still maybe keep, to a certain extent, the human nature very much more alive in them. And therefore, if a human being is less damaged, then he or she is closer to God as well. You can perceive God in a better way, in a closer way. The contemplative part as well of a woman is she sees things with her heart often, not always, but often. And this allows her to be closer to God's language, which is the heart language. And as you say, Christianity is a feminine religion, I would say. Not that there are other religions in my eyes, but we are talking modern way of talking. Other religions, you find essentially men who are in control of the whole story. I won't mention which religions, but it's visible. It's true. Not everywhere, but many countries. Of course, the church has a greater proportion of women than men. Here, for instance, as you can see today, especially today, it's clear. As I mentioned earlier on, women respond better to the language of love. The core of God's being is love. So women are bound to hear that, to receive the being of God better than us, men. The capacity, as I said earlier on, for women to give themselves whenever they find their love is way more powerful than for a man. The capacity to give oneself, not the dedication, the total dedication for something. Women are it's multiplied by I don't know how much, okay? It doesn't mean that men are not dedicated, they're not faithful. No, they can be extremely faithful and dedicated, but it's not the same thing at all. It's a woman deals person to person. A man deals person to objects, projects, things. I'm summarizing, but every summary is a bit unfair to reality. I don't want to harm totally the image of men. But yeah, so therefore, and Christ is the incarnation of God, and Christ came in a form of a man, not in the form of a woman. Mary is not God. Mary will never replace Christ, so she's never a solution. She's not a goddess, if you want. She's not God. So probably that's an extra reason that makes it this way, more attractive for women. So, from where this teaching comes, which teaching? This feminine and masculine, or upper and lower? Which one? Or both? Or
I was thinking more of what you were expressing rather than that. It makes sense.
From where it comes? Which part? From where? From which part? From where it comes?
What you're teaching today. It's very important for us to...
It's an example of saints. It's an example of saints, the love that the saints had. As you know, I was more initially in my life drawn to the Carmelite spirituality for a long time. The Carmelite spirituality is very, very feminine. If I may say, I don't know, I don't want to sort of... in the sense that you have many saints, female saints, you have 2 doctors of the church. I mean, women are very present in the Carmelite life. The numbers of nuns is way greater than the numbers of monks or religious. Nuns are, I think, around 16,000, while the men are between 2,000 and 3,000, maybe more, I don't know now, the figures. St. John of the Cross himself, as I mentioned, is very feminine in his way of dealing with God. It's incredible. So I probably absorbed consciously and unconsciously a lot from this spirituality, but I don't think that this spirituality is just a school of spirituality. I think this is for everybody. Of course, it's human nature. It's I mean, there are aspects that you can find in psychology, no? The feminine and the masculine. Jung, for instance, Carl Gustav Jung developed that a lot. We owe him a lot. On the psychology, psychoanalysis aspect, he's a genius in my eyes. It's only my opinion, it's not a church opinion. But you find it as well in other spiritualities, not only in Christianity. You have in certain areas of Buddhism and Hinduism, this aspect is very much developed. This feminine aspect, this feminine side. We can learn what is good in any place belongs to Christ, as the church always behaved. But we have it as well with us. From all the female saints are an amazing gift for the church. My tutor, a little bit master as well, Father François Letel, who is still alive today, meditated a lot on the life of different female saints and presented them to the public. I will never forget his fervor when he was talking about, the reading even, the letters of Saint Clare of Assisi to Agnes of Prague, and vice versa, Agnes of Prague to Clare of Assisi. The man was in fire. I can't say more. This is the church for me. It's part of the church, but this is the church for me. As I mentioned earlier on, my first shock and meeting with this was with Saint Teresa of Avila in '83, when I read her the way she behaves with Jesus. That was for me, it was unmistakable. It was really a woman dealing with her husband. She's not like, no, it was like there, and fierce, no? Sometimes just you need to command, like some women would command, no? Their husband, no? She asked her daughters, the Carmelite nuns, to command. She ask him to treat you like a queen. I don't know who can be her husband, this woman. You see? So, you see, this is my tradition as well. This is the church. She's a saint, she's a doctor of the church, she belongs to the entire church. Paul VI, when he declared her doctor, said this is the time in the history of the church for mental prayer, for the prayer of the heart. So we need to learn from her. She's a great master. When you enter in St. Peter, to the right I think she is, I don't remember where exactly, I forgot now, Mater Spiritualis, no? She's the mother of all spiritual people. Written on, you have the statue, her statue, Teresa of Avila, and then below is written Mother of all spirituals, or Mother of spirituals, people who are spiritual, no? And I think all Christians we are supposed to be spiritual. Okay? Now, shall we have just, thank you very much for your question. I'm sure you have many more questions. Shall we have just 5 more minutes of break? But before that, again, I want you to recollect, because it's important. This course is not food for the brain only. It's food for the heart. So wherever we are on our journey, we can access Jesus. Wherever we are in our journey, we can access Jesus, because He is the one who comes to us where we are. So bearing in mind that new teaching, it will remain always new, to fall in love with Jesus, bearing in mind that, let us just open our heart to Him and just be with Him, listen or talk to Him in silence for 1 minute. If you allow me, just after this short minute of prayer, if you allow me just to underline again the fact, you remember the first commandment said we are invited to love God with all our heart. Now Jesus is God, so we are invited to love Jesus with all our heart. So you see how we can continue to understand the first commandment. This was the first commandment, no? You love with all your heart. So we now can continue to deepen our understanding of the expression all. Today, you see that our heart, in fact, is divided in two parts, unconsciously, unwillingly. It's just spontaneous. We do that spontaneously, no? We love God, God, God. But the rest, the fleshy part, the Greek eros part, is not understood to be given to Jesus. Jesus is not understood as being capable of invading this part with his love. As a consequence, we lose a lot of energy because it's only part of our heart that is given to Jesus. This part is put in the deep freezer at the age of 14, 15, 16, or whenever we have a disappointment in love. Yes or not? When we are adolescents, we dream of love, yes or not? We want to find Prince Charming, yes or not? But then maybe we go from a disappointment to the other, or we just accommodate with a half dream, okay? But deeply, what did we do? We put this part of our heart in the deep freezer, yes or not? So this second hour of the course today is an invitation as well, is a gentle invitation to say what? To say, please, kindly, go to the deep freezer, open the deep freezer, open the drawer, take your heart from the deep freezer and give it to Jesus and allow him to treat you as his own bride. You don't know what it is, but all what the above could be done by you. You see? That's the meaning of it. So, and trust me, I teach that even to nuns. I don't teach it just to lay people. I just came back from a session on spiritual formation with nuns. 5 days. And I was teaching the same thing. And do you think it's old for them? It's old news? For some of them it's totally news. So, because we don't hear it often. We don't hear it often. No? So please, open the deep freezer. Your dreams when you were a teenager. You wanted to find love. And then you buried these dreams. Yes or not? You buried these dreams. Or maybe you accommodated. You said, okay, my husband is not perfect, etc. So let us just deal with life as it is. No? But what did you do? You buried your dream. Your desire to love and be loved, to fall in love totally, to find the man. And the man is Jesus. Because our love is made at the image of our heart is made at the image of his heart, not at the image of another man or another woman. The commandment says all your heart. It didn't say a part of your heart to God and then the other part to your husband or to your wife or to your children or to your father or to your mother. No. No. But what happens is that this capacity, this desire to love is buried unconsciously because of you are disappointed. No, you have disappointments in life. No, half disappointment or full disappointment. It depends. But it's in a way disappointment. Sometimes, yeah, you have long, big, beautiful, long love stories. Yes, it happens. But still, the majority, this is the case. But your energy, your desire to love and be loved is buried in a deep freezer. So the invitation is to believe that these desires that you had have their answer, have the person who can quench that thirst. It's Jesus. Jesus is God and man, and he can fill, and he's supposed to fill the heart, fill these parts of loving and being loved. And I do add, even a little bit of romance is absolutely normal. Because if you don't have a bit of romance, then how can the stronger love come after? So you need to start. We need the milk. And the milk is this little bit of romance. Why not? Remember what she was saying. He's courting me. Remember that. Stick it somewhere. He is courting me. That's crazy. We're talking about God. We're talking about Jesus. This is crazy. You don't hear that every day. We don't hear that every day. He's courting me. This is what Saint Therese lived. This is what Gemma Galgani lived. This is what Dina Bélanger lived. This is Agnès de Prague. This is what Clara of Assisi. Everybody, they lived that. So why can't we live it? Okay? Thank you.